Okay, so welcome to our June event. I'm just going to give like a very quick breakdown of what Agile Disciples is all about, and then we will hand it over to Coach Saif, who will be sharing and giving us a lot of information today about his journey since he came into the Agile environment. Okay, so we are Agile Disciples USA, and this is our vision, which is to empower and develop our community. So we're a group of coaches that came together to give back to the community, and our mission is to create knowledge, awareness, and empowerment in our communities through coaching and skill development to close the opportunity divide. So we hold monthly events, and uh, for this July, we are going to be having a break. Our next event will be in August. So we'll round up this section today by talking about our next event. And this is all of us in Agile Disciples. So we are Florence Olumodimo, Divine Oshideko, Chichi Afia, Dr. Francisca Ramoni, myself, Anne Jademi, Temi Tokbe, and then we have Godwin, we have Femi Ojo, and then we also have Coach Adam Ibrahim. So we also have some mentors, and our mentors are Coach Anu Gopal, Coach Bob Galen, Coach Kemi Raji, and Coach Femi Odelusi. So these are the people that mentor us as we give back to the community. So I'm going to stop sharing this. We are going to hand over to Coach Saif to take over for this evening.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. And I will start sharing and we'll go from there. Let me just get a second. Instead of giving an introduction, I'll save that for later because I do have a slide about myself. So I do not want to take more of your time. So just bear with me for a second. And hopefully you all are looking at a PowerPoint that says Agile Disciples. In the bottom, it says June 29th. Is that good?
Yes.
Okay. So here is the agenda for today. What I'm going to do is I'm going to cover my journey. And the reason for that is not to talk about who I am, but more like everybody has a journey, and then you can see and maybe correlate some of the things you may have done as I have done. Okay. And then I'll say there is a lot of talk actually in industry about, like the agile where we are and, what have we achieved so far and, where are we going from here? So instead of starting from like how a transformation begins, what happened, I'm going to start with actually in a reverse order as to where we are today, like what we have done in last 2 decades, basically, I'll say. So I'll start there, basically. Where are we? What have we achieved as in Agile? Then I'm going to talk a little bit about how we reached there, what transformations happened, basically. And then finally, I'll talk a little bit about, in my view, again, this is not like right or wrong. All these things are my experience. And you may agree with some of this, you may not. I mean, you may have had your own experience. So I will highlight where I think we still lack certain things, where we still need to make progress. And then we'll go from there. Sounds good? Okay. So let's start, just to get to know each other. If you all can go to menti.com, just go to, if you are on a computer, you are on a phone, doesn't matter, go to menti.com and then type in this code, or you can scan this barcode if you have a phone handy, not on a computer, I believe. And then you type this. There are just two multiple choice questions, just trying to get to know you as to who the audience is. So go to menti.com and then type the code 3170850. And I can see the words have started to come in. I will present my Menti screen to you guys. Give me a second. Here is the Menti we are in. Hopefully you guys can see I'm sharing my Menti results. Only task is basically how many years of work experience do you have? Just wanted to see the audience. So people have less than 5 years, a good number of people between 5 and 10 years. And then we also have folks with us who have a lot of experience in the industry, I would say. That's good. If I'm gonna go ahead and move forward. And then the question was, how many years of Agile experience do you have? And it could be Scrum Master, could be a software developer in an Agile environment, could be a product owner, doesn't matter. Once you have answered the previous question, let's go to this question. Okay. So few folks with some experience, few folks with between 5 and 10 years experience. That's all. That's all I wanted to know. Thank you so much for participating with me in that. Let's go ahead and let me talk a little bit about who I am or what my journey has been. Okay. So my name is Saif Ahmed. I was born in India. I did mechanical engineering there in 1997. So I'm not a software engineer to start with. I did not do computer science. And then, I switched to IT in 1998. Maybe, some of you may have made a switch in your career. Uh, and this is the message I want to give here is I didn't have any computer experience. Some of my friends who were software engineer, who were within in engineering college with me, they said, if you have a programming mindset, which they knew, you can switch. And then I started my career there in Whirlpool in India. After that, this is my US journey. I came here in 2001 on a H-1B visa, which many of you may remember, may know that many of the folks from India come on a visa. I came as a business analyst here, actually. And I'll correlate that why I'm saying as a business analyst in 2001, what did it mean back then? And what does it mean if you are a business analyst today, or maybe not? Because some of the roles are, we're just calling them software engineers. We're not calling them developers and testers. As you guys know, the Scrum Guide just said development team member. So the industry has definitely shifted from there. After that, I joined it. You go through your visa process and stuff. I became a developer. I became a team lead. I became the development manager. And this is where actually my Agile journey started in 2012, 2013. We did trainings. We changed team from, old waterfall to Agile model. And I was finally a director of software development here. I'll share my LinkedIn profile with you guys. But something didn't sound right to me. I was a director of software development. I was doing Agile, but then I stepped down actually. I went to Tata Consultancy Services and I became a Scrum Master. So here I was a director of software development. I had a big team here in US. I had a team in India. And the feedback I was receiving is my behavior was not of a Scrum Master. My behavior was not of an Agile leader. I was still a manager basically. So I went to Tata from a director of software development and I became a Scrum Master, an individual contributor basically. And I worked for many clients, Federal Reserve, JP Morgan Chase. And then finally, I decided further to go ahead and Tata is still like a consulting organization, but I was an employee here serving clients. And then I finally decided to become an independent coach. So in 2017 to now, my journey has been after 3 years of Scrum Mastering, I have been a coach with many organizations. I was with Fifth Third Bank, where there were 6 coaches and 2 Scrum Masters. We did a transformation of 20 teams. Then Bank of America in 2018, again, I worked with 12 coaches, 6 trains, 70 teams. I was with Fidelity then between 2019 to 2023, 4 years, where I met Anne. And I worked with 18 coaches, but this organization has, if I'm right, more than 100 coaches while I was working there, and hundreds of teams, 2 business units. This is what I was coaching. There were more than hundreds of teams. Anne was in a different business unit. I was in brokerage technology. She was in personal investment. So there are more than this. So what I'm trying to highlight here is there are organizations, at least I have worked for last 7 years, all those 7 years in different financial institutions with a number of coaches and number of teams. Not bragging about myself. What I'm trying to say is all those organizations hired me means they put some money there. They hired a lot of coaches. They went through transformations and they paid money for that transformation to go from waterfall to agile. So that's what I'm trying to highlight this. And there were consulting dollars here basically now. All the 4 years I was at Fidelity, I was a consultant. Here I was a consultant, here I was a consultant. I'm consulting now with First Citizens Bank, basically, in a much smaller role now. It's not hundreds of teams and stuff. I'm with a data team, data organization. You can say I'm coaching just 2 teams and I'm their leaders, basically. So certain things have changed, certain things are shifting. I'm not sure if that's your experience or not. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and say, okay, so this bullet, basically what I'm trying to say is there is a lot of transformation, at least I have seen, and I'm sure you all have seen. So what happened there? This is the good in my view that has happened so far with those transformations I was talking about. That is my experience. You remember how I said I came to this country as a business analyst? Back then we used to make requirements document. These acronyms, maybe you know, maybe you don't. This is system requirements specification, system design document, high-level design document, low-level design document. These were the terminologies used back then, at least. Back then in IT in India, IT in US, to my knowledge, that I did. I don't think we do those now, at least to the best of my knowledge. We used to do like 6 months development, maybe 12 months development cycle. And then after 18 months, we will do deployments. I doubt anybody does those big development cycles now. Most of the teams I know, they do small iterations. They do 2-week sprints, maybe 3-week sprints. Maybe very few I have seen do monthly sprints. They all have, these are sprints. This may not correspond to directly releases, but now most of the teams, as I know, they release monthly or quarterly. Back then, 20 years ago, when I was doing development and when I was a business analyst, I don't think we did monthly deployments. Here is how teams work now. All the teams are together. Again, in waterfall days, we used to have a design team. After business analysis, there will be a design and architecture. Then there will be a big, huge development cycle. And then there will be QA. Now, most of the teams are cross-functional, meaning they do development, they do design, they do QA. There is still end-to-end integration and testing after a few sprints that I have generally seen. I've not seen like you do a sprint and you do a deployment. You do like 2-3 sprints, and then the code goes to test or UAT environment, and then you do a release basically after your change board and approval and things. This is what my experience has been. And just by maybe a show of, I can see here, let me see the screen, thumbs up or thumbs down. Is this what like you guys have seen? Like, yes, this is what we mostly see now. I mean, we're not doing 6 months of design and 12 months of development and things of that nature. Okay, good, good, good. I see things coming up. Okay, cool. Thank you. Thank you for being with me. Okay, so that was that. And then I will continue. And so what I'm trying to say here is these are the good things in my view. We're not doing big requirements. We're not doing big cycles. We are doing like small iterations, and we all have some sort of cross-functional teams basically. So those are good. In my view, those are achievements in last 10, 15, 20 years, depending on how long you have worked, what your organizations have gone through. Here is some more good continued. Here's what I have seen. If you go to HR, like at least in Fidelity, I can tell you, where Ann and I work, there are official titles which say Scrum Master. There doesn't used to be a Scrum Master role, I believe, 10, 15 years ago, officially in the organization and hiring for them. There is a product owner role, there are product manager roles, there are RT roles. I'm sure if you go to LinkedIn or Indeed or ZipRecruiter, you search these roles and you will find the job positions. So those have come, people have recognized Agile, they have recognized Agile roles. There are sometimes in organization, you will see there are Agile directories as to how to find people and their teams and their team leaders and stuff. There are even vocabularies where they will define what is a iteration, what is a quarterly planning, and things of those nature. There is a whole Agile directory. There are, now this one may connect, may not connect. There are organizations, most large organizations, they have a separate hierarchy for Scrum Masters, meaning the team for which most of the things are done by the Scrum Master, the facilitation, the planning, and everything, they are not their boss. They report to a different hierarchy generally. Back then, if it was your development manager or your chapter leader, technical lead, whatever term connects with you, they will be the one assigning people tasks, and they will be the one doing all the planning and design and development. Now it is Scrum Masters. They may or may not have the technical background. And they have a separate hierarchy for a reason that, that you do not have that command and control fear that I cannot speak up, otherwise it can be used against me. So to give that psychological safety and freedom, the Scrum Masters generally, I won't say all the organizations, but many organizations, they are separate. They do not report through necessarily your developer hierarchy, basically. Managers are not Scrum Masters and or product owners. I'm trying to emphasize the same thing. Hope that is your experience also. Again, by a show of hands, or if anybody wants to unmute, it's not a very huge group. So I believe we can take a pause. And if somebody wants to speak anything about it, we can, if that's okay. Anne and Francesca.
So I particularly love the journey. Go on, Dr. Francisca.
No, I'm saying I love the journey, and particularly this resonates with me because this is what is happening now. Previously, we didn't have these titles. We just used to work in the teams and everybody does their own thing in silos. But with this now, we know we have this agile group or development team. We have the lean agile center of excellence, and they're there and they'll be able to guide us on what to do. And so I believe, yeah, those are the good things which have happened to us in this agile environment. And then as a Scrum Master or a product owner, what I like about it is you're not a manager of everybody. You are there as a servant leader to help them achieve their goal. And the goal is to give value to the customer. So I totally agree with you, Saif.
Thank you. Thank you for adding your comments. Anyone else?
Yeah, she has said it all. I just wanted to say about the title as well. So the journey from when you started till now that we have all these titles that a lot of us are familiar with. I'm sure people here, some people are not aware of this, so it's good that you are sharing this journey so that we can see where all this started from and why we are here, where we are today. And I know some of these titles are things that we are all familiar with today, but I also know that there are some of these roles are roles that transition over time. Like some of the jobs that were there before, there are things that Scrum Master, product owners are doing, but the transition and then they all now started focusing on just one particular area. So as we keep listening to you, I'm sure we'll get to hear more about how Agile has evolved over time and also all the things that some of us are not aware of because we came in to this space when some of these titles were already, like these new titles were already being used in organizations.
Correct. Thank you. Thank you so much. And sometimes I question things also, meaning, okay, you can say, so what do you mean, coach? Like, if the HR, is it just about the titles? Like, you can cross question, like, so if
Right.
we have a Scrum Master title and we have a product owner title and product manager, does that makes the journey? Is that like a great achievement? And I will say yes to that. And there is a reason. The organizations, for them to recognize that role, to put that vocabulary into their HR directory, and to create a job title and a description and a payroll, it is a big deal. You may say just creating a Scrum Master, will that change the organization? And I can take that with a grain of salt, like, yeah, you have a powerful question. But what that means is the organization is serious. They do want to recognize that there is a time and energy that goes in creating those titles, those roles. Like, I can't just walk to HR and tomorrow say like, hey, let's create a new title, and they will go ahead and create it. I don't think so, no, especially large organizations. So what I'm trying to say is, first of all, means yes, they agree, they believe in it. There are challenges, not saying that, but they agree, they believe in it. And I do also believe, like, people when they say like, what's in the name? I think there is a thing in the name. It does conveys to you. If somebody comes to you, you search your Agile directory and it says Saif Ahmed Scrum Master, then it speaks a volume that no, he's a Scrum Master. Now, what is content behind me, how good a Scrum Master I am or not, but the first impression does comes to your mind by the title. No? Like that's how we all work. That's how human being is, human psychology is. Like, I do have an official title. I do have an official role. It gives us that confidence, basically, to us and to the people we are being received from, basically. Okay. So, and made a very powerful comment, like when I was saying, like, I started that my journey in 1997 or this 98 in Whirlpool. There was not a bit of Agile. Nobody knew about a Scrum Master role or a term. I mean, until here, even until 2005, 2014, 2012 is when I came to know about the Scrum at least.
And
2000.
Agile was actually created, sorry, Scrum was created 2001.
Correct.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Yes. So, and then it takes a lot of time for these things to, like, come into industry, especially in large
Right.
organizations. So, yes. So that's the good I'm saying, because I do remember creating these, like, this document, believe me. That was my job. My visa was sponsored to come here, create these requirements document. I don't think people will just create a um, visa for you and sponsor to go to US to create a requirements document. Maybe there are, but there are more reasons they will create a visa for a Scrum Master or a product owner or a developer than go create a systems requirement document for me. So industry has changed, in my view. That's all I'm trying to say. It has been a lot of change in last 15, 20 years, depending on, where you work and how long your organization has gone with the transformation.
That's true.
So here's one more Menti I wanted to do, if that's okay with you guys. Go to menti.com and type this code. And it's a multiple choice question. You can answer, I think, more than one, like depending on what you may have worked in multiple organization or just one, or it's okay with that. Okay, here is the question that you all should have on your screen. Let the votes come in. Please keep going in. So the question was, you can still keep voting, guys, no problem. I'll start covering some of it in the interest of time. I have worked in organizations that have defined, and then, Scrum Master role. Looks like a good number of people have worked where Scrum Master role is defined. There is a Scrum Master, but not product owner role. That I think I agree. I mean, this is more recognized, and some organizations take time to come to the product owner role. Some of you have probably experienced both. Very good. And here it is. Very good. Not actual titles, meaning those organizations have recognized Agile. They are probably doing some iteration, some Scrum, but some individual, maybe a technical lead is playing that role. Maybe a development manager is playing that role. Maybe a business analyst is playing that role, but they don't necessarily have HR recognized roles in their directory and, payroll and things of those nature. So that's good. Okay. Let's go move to the next one. I think I've talked a lot about that, but I still wanted to see what your responses are, and don't get biased by me. Do you think it's important to have Agile roles defined? Write a little bit about that. If you can write a bit, like, what do you think, in the sense, what value does it gives, or what value does not it gives? It's great. Yep, it helps flow and understanding of responsibilities. Correct. People understand better what we
Do you
do.
think my better for us have a conversation rather than type it?
Go ahead, please, Chichi.
Yeah, because I put that it helps flow and responsibilities, understanding responsibilities. And I do understand that some organizations have have it in hierarchy, right? But instead of having it in a hierarchy, I see everyone as an agile lead. At least we should be leaders in that space, right? But without hierarchy, but understanding that the Scrum Master is the first coach of the team, right? Yet we have the same duty, I would say duty, to ensure that we're working in the agile mindset. So it's like we owe responsibility to each other while we're playing out different roles.
Yep, agree. What you were emphasizing on the hierarchy word, was there something you wanted to communicate, Chichi?
I've seen organizations where there is the agile coach in is seen as a higher ranked person
Yeah.
than the Scrum Master. The product owner also has that mindset, right? So when we have those separate mindsets, I don't know, it has an effect on communication, collaboration. There's just a missing piece to it.
I think you do have a valid point. I do understand what you're saying. I'm not going to negate that fact that people generally think that way, like, oh, he's a Scrum Master or she's a Scrum Master, and that individual is a coach. Then your coach is like a senior person, and Scrum Master is not that senior. it may not necessarily have been designed that way. And the idea is more like you do need someone for the team, very dedicated to the team now, because while
Right.
you're saying development manager and chapter leaders or tech leads are not in control of the team's task assignment and things of that nature, somebody has to take the facilitation piece, the guiding piece, the metric piece, and the coaching piece. So there is a scrum master dedicated with the team now on your day-to-day routine. Coaches on the other side, they come generally with more experience, but and their role is more like, you can say, you can zoom out a little bit. Instead of one team, they may be with, I don't know, 8 teams, 10 teams, 12 teams. And more importantly, I would say some of the leaders of those teams. So Scrum Masters are generally focused on the team. They have some interaction with the leaders, but coaches are generally trying to interact with the product manager or director of the software development, or depending on whatever the titles organization have, domain leader, product area leader, tribe leader, or VP of software development. They may have different titles, but coaches are generally working with them to see how some of the practices can be standardized, some of the trainings can be standardized, some of the tools can be standardized, and quarterly planning and things of those nature. So it automatically becomes like, though it is not said that way, it becomes a mindset thing basically, or in our thoughts we receive, like, yep, coaches are senior or scrum masters are junior. I would say yes, the tenure goes like that. The work experience before you coach 10 teams or 6 teams, you have to coach one team now. So it does goes like that, but hopefully, at least where I worked, and Anne knows, in Fidelity, that's a good example. That's why I keep talking about it. Scrum Masters were in a separate hierarchy. They had their own leaders. Coaches were in a separate hierarchy. They were not in the same hierarchy. The coaches can be assigned to Scrum Masters, multiple Scrum Masters and multiple teams, but Scrum Master didn't like kind of reporting to the coaches. But that's not true. I know that very well. I know financial institutions where my friends work and where the coaches and Scrum Masters in the same hierarchy, in the same organization, in the hierarchy.
Okay, so maybe yes, and I think that's how it works, right? Different hierarchies reporting to different leadership,
Correct.
right? So in my mind, hierarchy, I was thinking about hierarchy as Scrum Master, Agile coach, and all of that. But the way you've explained it now is what it is in organizations. We have different hierarchies, different reporting structures, right? But on different levels, not necessarily like a command.
Yes.
Yeah, just the hierarchy.
Hopefully
Yeah.
not. And I will also say one thing though, and then we'll move on to next topic. Scrum Master is, in my view, a more permanent role, is more every organization generally have consistently. Coaches are more like me, who are like consulting, who come and go. There are some internal coaches, generally every organization I have seen, they will have few internal coaches, they'll get trainings and they'll do, and their career will develop, but not all coaches generally are employees. Most of the coaches, especially when transformation is going on, they get hired. And then they complete their tenure and then they move on and they go. You may have seen in my journey, like how I was stable in one company initially, and then I have been moving around for last 7-8 years. There are good with it, and obviously there are challenges with it if you have family and you have to travel and things of those nature.
So before we move on from here, I have a quick question, which is, from your experience, the organizations that you've worked that it did not have titles, like if we go back to the previous page of that mentee.com, the
Yes.
first question, there was one of them that said there was really no specific title for the role of the Scrum Master or the coaches.
Yes.
How do you address that? If you find yourself in an organization where the Scrum Masters don't have any specific title, but you're made to, like you have all the Scrum Master responsibilities, how do you, we are change agents, and we are supposed to come in as coaches or as scrum masters to help the organization align them properly and help them to do the right things. So when you go into that kind of organization, how do you help them to realign? Have you had issues where you had to suggest that they should have titles for roles, or how did you find yourself? What did you do in those kind of situations? I think that's what I'm trying to drive at.
I will answer that. I'll save that question for myself. I will answer you, Anne, maybe towards the end. But maybe I want to ask right now the people who have answered that question as to maybe they're having challenges. Like anybody who has answered this, let me make sure like I have this maximized. I mean, I don't know how to, like 1 second. It's just like sometimes these your Zoom screen is on the top of it. And so individuals who have answered this that, hey, my organization or where I have worked, we do not have actual titles, but people are playing that role. Can you add some comments as to how are you handling that? Is that easy? Is that tough? What do you guys do?
So for me, I didn't answer that. However, I have that experience, and the experience is not about product owner or scrum master. The experience is about a project manager, RTE. So the organization would rather have a project manager act the role of an RTE. And that is tough because they're not following the Agile methodologies or the Agile way of working. Even when they're facilitating the meetings, they're not facilitating the meetings following the Agile methodologies. And so if they're doing a PI planning, there are some key steps which they miss because they are PMs, they are not RTEs. Yeah, so that's what I can say on that.
Thank you for sharing that. Thank you. Anyone else want to add? And I'm not trying to deflect. I will answer that towards the end because where I'm working right now, I do have a slide about that, and where I'm working, that is the case. There is a Scrum. Well, I'm a Scrum lead, not they don't call Scrum Master, but we don't have product owners. So I'll try to answer that. Okay, let's move on. So, okay, we did this. Okay, so, this is more about the transformation, especially considering this group. Like, why did we go Agile? No, like you guys can all ask, like I did try to show in my journey. There is well, I don't know if version 1 is called version 1 now. I think it is bought by another company. Version 1 is a tool, just like Jira, just like Azure DevOps, depending on what tool you use for managing your backlog. They used to publish a state of Agile report every year. I don't know if they're still doing, at least between 2014, 15, 16, every year. I was doing my Scrum Mastering and coaching and training. And these were the things that were listed. But there is a different reason I have listed, and maybe you will agree, maybe you will not. They always say speed to market. That's why we're doing Agile. I am not sure in my experience of all the coaching and Scrum Mastering, I do say we do frequent validations, meaning those small sprints or iterations we do. We generally do have businesses with us, especially in sprint review and the end customer. We do the sprint reviews and demos. So we are doing that much frequently. The reason I probably did not agree with this is I haven't worked for Amazon or one of those organizations where people say they deploy, I don't know, 100 times a day. Most of the organizations I have worked with, either finance or insurance, they actually don't have a reason to deploy every day. They don't want to deploy every day, actually. There is a lot of risk. They have a lot of compliances. There are a lot of government organizations watching them. So, and there are internal, external controls. They are fine with once a month or once a 2-week deployment. So I'm not sure that we do a lot of deployment, like speed to market, that's killing them. But they do enjoy that, okay, IT used to be in a silo and they used to be doing 6-month development and then they will show us the product. That's not the case anymore now. We all do some kind of a sprint review, sprint demo, and we show it to the customer. Similarly, they say adaptability to change, and I do completely agree. initially, that 10, 20 years, that system requirements document I was talking about, if you have to have a change or something happens, you need to go back, change your document, make a scope change, and then send it to the team. Now it is not like that. I mean, you can make a new story, you can add new task in your story. It's much frequent. We respond to changes much frequent than waiting for a scope change document and things of those nature. Transparency, yes. There is a backlog generally. Every organization, whether you have a spreadsheet, you have a Jira, you have Azure DevOps, I mean, whatever you are using, you have a prioritized backlog that generally everybody can see. Doesn't matter if it's technology or business, people have access to it. So that's good in my view. That's the transparency they talk about. Otherwise, it will be hard. You go and approach a development manager, and if you have a good relationship with the development manager, he'll go to his favorite developer and he'll knock on his shoulder or on his back and say, hey, can you do my requirement, please, quickly? We have shifted from that, in my view. That may still happen in small pockets, but for most of this, people have a backlog, they have quarterly planning, the stories are planned in sprints, so there is a transparency. The last one, that we used to create project plans in Microsoft projects. I don't know if any of you have that experience. I did that back then. And then you create tasks for every developer, and then you assign them. That's what used to happen back then. I don't think it happens anymore. You may have some kind of like, yep, he is a Java expert or he's a UI expert, but people don't create tasks for them and assign them anymore. You may create story, they will self-assign them, they'll work that. So those are the reasons we went to Agile. Here is what transformations have happened in my view, especially the transformations I did. You go through, basically you meet HR with the leadership team, they come up with roles and responsibilities, they publish those job descriptions. And when I say these things, these are not 1 month, 2 months, 6 months even, these take years in my view to fully embrace, to fully roll out, and to fully adapt to these. If an organization does not have those roles and they want to switch tomorrow, believe me, it takes them a year or 2 years before they can change all their directories, all their official titles, all their job description, the hiring practices, the hiring managers. It does take that much time. There's a lot of trainings and workshop that happens. That's one of my primary job as a coach. Scrum Master, doesn't matter. So I believe you do training. If you are a coach, to Chichi's point, I mean, you can do more for like a larger teams, 5 teams, 10 teams, or maybe leaders. And if you're a Scrum Master, you probably do for your specific team, but you still need to do the training. There is a lot of tools and frameworks that had been adopted. Many people here may know about Jira, that has somehow become the default of Agile, I guess. Atlassian tool. Many use version 1. At Bank of America, I used Raleigh, that's Computer Associates now. So those tools have come. I mean, the whole tool industry has shifted to Agile. They use all iteration and sprints and backlog, that kind of keywords basically. And then there is a team formation and sprint 0. What I'm trying to show here is any organization that truly goes through transformation, these are the steps they do. This has been my job for last 7, 8 years, basically. You try to help HR, you conduct trainings yourself, or you call an outside external trainer. You try to define the tools and frameworks for the entire organization, so everybody does not use a different sprint cycle and a different sprint name. You standardize those workflow and statuses. And then you finally do a team formation. Like what I mean by that is, you generally, when you start a new team or resetting a team, you will try to define working agreement, definition of ready, definition of done, and things of those nature. So many of you, I know, maybe Scrum Masters, some of you maybe coaches, you will agree with this, that these are the transformation steps, or maybe you are looking forward to do some of these things basically. All right. Here is, so let me see again, by a show of hands, are these some of the things like you guys have done, doing, any commentary? on transformation. Okay, thumbs up from Francesca. Have you been involved in any of these kind of discussions, implementation? Or it's more organic in your organization? Like some organizations, if they don't have large budget, they don't have time, they may not do like, officially these steps. They may happen more organically. What I mean is a Scrum Master just go ahead and somebody takes the title and somebody tries to self-study, self-train and teach each others. And then, they try to figure out a tool and they can do that organically too. But if you work for large organizations that are going through transformation, these are some of the major bullets basically that they do.
So I see a question there from Alberto.
Okay, let me
Sprint
see.
zero. He's asking, I think, about what is sprint zero or something, or what does that mean?
Yes, so what is sprint zero is when you really, if your organization recognizes transformation and they go through the steps of like, yes, we're going to be transforming to Agile, then they do allow you, there is a reason I emphasize, they will give you time. And you can call it sprint zero, you may call it something else. You go ahead and you do basically a sprint where you're not really working on backlog, like on writing code and developing code and deploying code. What you're doing is you sit with the team, then you define certain contracts, I would say, certain working agreements. Like you all will discuss basically, how are we going to work together? Are we going to meet every day at 8 o'clock for the stand-up? Are we going to meet at 5 p.m. or are we going to meet in the noon time? Because some of us are in US, some of us are in Nigeria, some may be in India, some may be in Latin America. How are we going to work? What things are allowed? If I don't agree with the team, can I voice my concern? Can I not voice my concern? What will be our sprint, basically, sprint commitments? How are we going to make sure that, yes, we are delivering what we promised to do? And, there are certain things like definition of ready, definition of done. I'm certain most of you may have heard about those. And most important, in my view, sprint zero is you work with the product owner to define the backlog. Because most of the time what happens is if the team is already working or they're in hybrid mode or waterfall mode, or they may be doing pieces of Agile, their backlog is not in a good shape. Meaning they may have created stories for years, nobody has touched, nobody has prioritized. You do not have well-defined stories, you do not have acceptance criteria. So you go ahead and take that time to sit with the team, do backlog refinement, create a healthy prioritized backlog for next 2-3 sprints. So basically sprint zero is all meaning you are preparing to start sprinting. You're not sprinting in that sprint zero. You're doing all the things necessary to do the sprinting. Make sense? Hope it helps a little bit. In professional Scrum, as a sprint is a sprint, just having it. I do agree. I think whoever is writing that, I agree with you that generally the term people say avoid that, do not use it because it gives a false sense. So completely agree with you. You may, and I know there has been a debate, you can use a different term. You can say team launch, like Bank of America used to say team launch. You can say prep work or you can say prep sprint. But the idea is basically if you don't, what happens is you do not, it gives you a buy-in from the leadership that you do have some time to sit down with the team, clean up your backlog, define your sprints, define your ceremonies, and come to the same page before you start sprinting. Otherwise, people go through motions. They may have been working, but they never got a chance to sit down and talk basically about how they work together, define their working guidelines basically. Okay, thank you. That was a good point. Okay. Let me see, let me go. Okay, here is, I've been talking about all the good things we have done, all the great things we have done. There is certain things, and again, these are my experience. I'm not saying necessarily you agree with it. Maybe you don't. Maybe you see the different things. But here is what I have seen. And I think Chichi pointed this out. I'm not saying in regards of Scrum Master or coaches. I'm talking here more generically about the large organizations. Those still exist. And I don't know if I will say I have a solution. They are ranked by number of subordinates. How is the hierarchy defined in any organization? A director to VP to CIO to CTO to CEO. It's just basically the number of people you have. That's how you grow. Are you a manager? Are you a manager of managers? There are different benefits. There are different access level depending on that. More number of people you have, more power and benefits you get. PowerPoint-based reporting for senior leaders. I don't know if you guys have seen this, but those are still those. They need admin assistants. And, some of the leaders I will tell you honestly, like they may think and they may even say to you, like, what do you mean by these? They may say, you have no idea, Saif, that yes, we need admin assistant. Yes, we need PowerPoint based. They may neglect my point, and that's okay. What I'm trying to highlight is, as long as you have a person's leadership, a person's rewards or bonuses based on the number of hierarchy and the number of people they have, I think we will continue to see that behavior we see. This is the reason I highlighted this is, as long as you have this, you have not changed your mindset that I can go use a tool and look at the data myself. Or if my organization have challenges, I should be able to go reach any person, even a developer of the team, and talk to them about it. I need some person to go ahead, collect that data, make a fancy report and bring it to me. And all I'm trying to say by those is that shows the mindset in my view. And don't know if any of you agree. Have you worked with leaders? Have you seen? Well, the first two, that is reality. The next two is what I'm saying about the mindset. I don't know whether you agree, you have worked with leaders, you have seen those behaviors or not.
I think those are common behaviors we see in most organizations. I've worked, especially the ones I've worked for. When you're doing even reporting and you're working, we have a tool for reporting. You'll hear them say that, oh, we just need a high level understanding. Can you do a PowerPoint?
Yeah, they need
You
still
know?
the green, red, and yellow. I don't know how many guys
Yes.
you done
Yes.
that.
Mhm.
So, 20 years ago when I was showing you my journey thing, we used to make PowerPoint reports. Red means obviously not good, yellow is kind of okay, and green is good. That's the level of understanding they have. And they would just want to see green, yellow, and red and want to move on. Not have
Yeah.
the personal interest to invest in the team, to invest the time in the tool, to learn about it, to collect the data yourself. And it's
Mhm.
not necessarily about Agile, I would say. It's more about your mindset. What kind of mindset do you have as a leader?
Yeah. I want to corroborate that because that's also happening. Leaders talk a lot about delivery. Well, they talk about speed of delivery. So their focus is on things that don't benefit them, or they don't know that does not benefit them. So they want to see reports like team velocity. I'm like, how does a team velocity help you in determining whether the team has delivered or customer satisfaction? Like there's a misalignment, right? And like it also points to the fact that the leaders are not also being accountable. There's a lot of accountability expected from the teams, and it kind of separates themselves from that accountability. because it's more so what they do is what the team see. They should lead by example, right? And you know, we should point them to where they should find this so they can be empowered themselves to ask the right questions. Right. So
100% agree
that's
with you. Yeah. It's
pretty
it,
much what happens.
it's not it's the behavior, it's the mindset. It's like you can counter challenge me by like, what's wrong? If my manager is asking me for a PowerPoint, I make it good. I mean, I can go show him, he's happy. It's not about just making that, it's about the shift in the mindset we are talking about. I mean, if because that trickles down, like from the very top level, from that PowerPoint and hierarchy and the mindset, to it keeps going down from level 10. I mean, I don't, depending on your organization, we have at least in Fidelity, we had, I can say from level 1 to level 7 or level 8, it trickles down. That same mindset keep going on, that my boss needs this, my boss needs this, my boss needs this. And until then, it basically, and it finally goes to the team, and they think that we all talk about Agile, we all talk about self-empowerment, but nothing really is changing. Nothing really is changing in terms of the mindset. So it does becomes important in my view. And by no means I am trying to say they do have an important job. They are smart people. They do need numbers. They do need data. I'm never negating that. As a Scrum Master, as a coach, I've done lots of those numbers. I'll provide them. But if I have created a tool, those numbers are there, and it's just a matter of you to go ahead and look at those versus whether you want me to bring them in a nice fancy PowerPoint to you. Just little mind shift, Seth. Just one little mind shift. I mean, I'm not talking about there are many other things like that, but that just shows you like as an example. Okay. So here, all the rewards. So I did talk about rewards, HR things. We have changed the titles and roles. I don't know if I have seen yet the performance reviews that happens. Those are still individual based. Like each developer will sit with their development manager, and their rewards and bonuses are depending on their performance. It's not team performance, as I know. I have not seen team-based awards and bonuses. Maybe there are organizations doing it, but the ones that I have worked, I have not seen those. So I think there is work here. All that I'm trying to say is there is work here. I don't know if it's going to happen, not going to happen. I don't know how much struggle will keep going on, left shift, right shift, and maybe we'll somewhere settle in the middle or not. I do not know that. But in my view, the things I showed you previously, those were the changes we have made. Some good things have been achieved. Certain things are still there. Okay. I do have one slide after this, especially in response to what Ian said. How do you handle like preaching Agile versus and being Agile? I did wanted to hear maybe your thoughts as to how you guys do, and then, or maybe I can go to the next slide and show you what I think we should do, how I work, not saying right or wrong. You want me to go ahead and show you those, or you want to unmute yourself and tell me some of the things you think we should do?
It's open forum, guys. Anybody can talk. Just raise your hand, unmute and say something.
I think, right, that I won't call it preaching, right? I will call it because I think being and doing work together. So instead of preaching, I would say maybe doing and being. Doing, because in order for us to be, there has to be a doing. So being agile to me is doing, right? As well as being able to talk about it and carry people along with you. And it could be you doing things by example. It could be you taking the lead and speaking to leaders about certain things. Scrum Masters are coaches of the team, but they also have an impact as influencers in the organization. Coaches are influencers on a larger scale, right? So being agile and doing agile is also coaching leadership, trying to find out why they're doing certain things, right? And introducing things to them. So it's more so hands-on to me. Like,
Thank you. Yep. Thank you, Chichi. Makes sense. It should be in your behavior, probably. When they look at you, how you show up, how you work, then, are you being a role model?
Yeah. We should actually be leading the change. Yeah, change agents. So
Yes.
yeah.
And change is hard. We all know that change is hard.
Yeah.
Being a coach also, sometimes I have gotten a comment, and I'll share you guys before I go to the next slide very quickly, and hopefully you can connect. I was in an organization. I had my monitors set up and everything, and my desk, and somebody came and changed that. And there was a chapter leader, development manager thing, sit next to me. And I was walking with him, he's friendly to me. And I say some comment along the lines of like, they had to do that. But I said, man, they keep changing this. And I was a little frustrated. He can sense that. Like, I was mad over that person or whoever was doing those alignment on my desk. And he said, I thought you were a change agent. And I was like, to me, like, oh my God. And it was like that moment, like, your bulb goes on, like, I hate the change. I said something, I don't remember the exact word, but they keep changing my desk arrangement. And I was like, I hate that change. And he was like, I thought you were a change agent. So it was powerful in the sense that's okay. Yeah, we get mad, but that just shows like to accept change, even a materialistic change, somebody changing my desk's position or my computer's position. People generally develop, like, it's my comfort zone. This is how I work. Don't change it. So now we are asking people to change their title, change their roles, show up differently. If you're a manager, you can't assign work to your developer. Those are big things, no? Those are big things. So yeah. Anyway, okay. So I'm gonna go next. And this is the last slide, but here's what I say. This is where I start. Get to know people. I mean, talk to them. I mean, if you can, I know it's not always easy, not believe me, but try to get to know them. They are generally people are good. Generally, they have good intents. They might have challenges, but try to meet to them. How I work is I try to know them, if they are a person, a family, what kind of interests they are. Especially when you're working with leaders, you have to. So try to just get to know them. Don't worry if they're a product owner, and if the title is not product owner and he is a business analyst, or there is a business stakeholder and they're playing that role, that's okay. Meet them. That's what people mean by like meet where they are. Don't worry that people who are answering like they don't have product owners, that's okay. There is somebody doing that. If there is a backlog, somebody is doing that. They just don't have a title, I believe. Build a relationship with them. Believe me, way powerful than teaching, training, Scrum guide. Not going to help you. Not going to help you, believe me, unless you build a relationship with them, whether it's a team, whether it's a manager, whether it's a leader, whether it's a Scrum master, another Scrum master, fellow Scrum master, product owner. Build a relationship. It will go far away, believe me. If possible, once you have these, I didn't start it here. I started to get to know people, build a relationship with them. Then try to go ahead and see if possible. Again, I'm saying if possible, create coaching agreements. And by coaching, I'm not mean necessarily agile coaching. Scrum Master is perfectly fine. Just work with the team. Like, hey team, how are we going to work together as a Scrum Master? Do you want me to provide feedback when we are doing sprint planning? Like, no, we're not pulling our workload. Do you want me to meet individually to you if I have to provide you feedback? How are we going to work? I have a job. I do have to report to organization. I do have to provide those numbers to my leaders. How am I going to work with you all? No, what do we do about that? So instead of reacting after the sprint and saying like, well, 3 stories you didn't complete, I have to go report, and every sprint we have been rolling over, try to set those, the sprint zero thing I was talking about. Let's agree on basically how we're going to work. Same with individuals. I do believe as a Scrum Master, it's a very important for you to maintain a relationship with product owner. It may be very challenging. They may have lots of priorities. Everything is priority one. You do need to develop a relationship with them. If you're a Scrum Master, your coach, doesn't matter. Meet with leaders. This is what I did. Actually, most of this is from Fidelity. And this was like my mentors coached me too. I think I heard Bob Gallen was here. He's one of my mentors. Great person. He said, basically, when you go meet leaders, don't start telling them about how great is Agile, what is Scrum, and how is Sprint, and you can fix everything. Ask them what are their challenges. They're not there. They probably waterfall, Agile, hybrid. That's not their challenge. Ask them what their challenge is, what keeps them up at night, what they want to achieve. No, if maybe software is a problem, maybe team performance is a problem, maybe they have some other problems. So try to see that what their goals are, what challenges they have, and then come up with like how Agile is going to solve their problem. If you started with Agile and Scrum, you're not going to end well. I mean, you have to find out basically what their challenge, especially any of you, if you work with a leader, try to get to know them, try to build a relationship. Don't even bring, like when I was doing Agile, we set coaching outcomes with leaders, both at Fidelity and Bank of America. I will say there is a habit when they look at us, they'll think, oh, here's a Scrum Master or a coach. Let me talk about Agile. Do not start that way. So what challenges do you have? What problems do you have? How can we solve those? So same with me and where I'm working right now, there are 2 teams, there are 2 technical leads, and they are, I mean, you know how technical leads, they have a lot of pressure. They are on fire all the time. And their managers who I work with has said they are my product owners. All I'm doing so far is I'm doing facilitation. I'm trying to get to know to them. I meet them one-on-one. I have not said that, hey, go do a product owner training or I'm going to train you guys. Right now, that's what I'm doing, basically trying to learn their world, trying to build a relationship with them. Maybe I'll slightly try to say, hey, how about let's start prioritizing backlog? And to me, I would say it won't matter at where I am right now is whether they shift to a completely becoming a product owner or HR role. Those will be more my feedback to the leaders when I meet with them. Like, hey, I do think that the title matters. Maybe think about it. How about the people who are playing product owner role? Can we give them a product owner title? But that's not where I want to start with them. I want to work with them. I want to build a relationship. I want to show them the things that Agile can help them achieve. And maybe along the journey, I'll try to convey that message also. That's my approach, not saying right or wrong. That's how I'm. This is the last one, I promise. This is the last slide. This is the last Menti. Go there again. And that should be the end of this basically session. But why I'm doing this is there is just one question there. It's in the interest of Francesca and all the community. They have been doing a great job. They've been calling people for you so that, we all learn and grow together. There is basically one question in this Menti. It is asking for what kind of topics or what kind of, do you want to do in future events of Agile Disciples. So go to menti.com one last time, please. And type the code 8652. It's one open-ended question, last slide of the day.
Maybe try it one more time.
Sorry, say that again. Okay, is that not working, the Menti?
Mine has worked, so I'm just asking Grace
Okay, yeah.
to try one more time.
Yep, let me try on my phone. Let's see.
Great, so good.
Yeah, it's open on that. Go ahead, type what you want to. And I do think like if you like what somebody has already put, you can put a thumbs up probably.
It says it's not open for votes yet.
Okay. Okay. I just opened it. Let's see. Okay, I know we are almost on time. I think 3 more minutes left. So I'm gonna go ahead and, press, it says press enter to show voting results. I don't know if anybody has voted or not, but there are 2 topics, I believe. From here onwards, I want to say thank you to you all, and I want to hand the baton back to, I don't know, Anne, is it to you or Francesca?
Yeah,
And
thank
is
you
okay.
so much.
Go ahead, I'll stop sharing.
Thank you, Coach. Any question for Coach Saif? Anybody has any questions or anything you want to add to all of just shared his experience? And I'm sure there've been a lot of takeaways. Okay, thank you so much for sharing your experience with us. This has really been great, and we really appreciate the time that you. Okay, Alberto, yes, 1 minute, please. Okay.
Thank you very much, Coach Saif. Shukriya.
Thank you. Wow, that's a good word. So Alberto said shukriya, which is like Asian language. It means thank you. Thank you.
So I just want to clarify something. When you were working with the consulting organization and you were seconded to a couple of organizations, right? How do you represent that on LinkedIn? How do you represent that on your resume? So that maybe just to have that pattern in this thing, in why maybe job hunting or career advancement or just putting yourself out there, right, for opportunities. How do you, get that done? Sorry for the noise on the background. I wanted to tell you I wanted to type. Thanks.
I think if I understood correctly, if your question is, do I put the client that I work for or I mean, it clearly shows if I have not changed recently, but I'm pretty open to sharing. I mean, I can send my LinkedIn profile to Anne. She can share with you guys all the organizations that I was showing in the first slide that I have worked for. They are in my LinkedIn profile.
Okay.
The end clients that I work for. So Bank of America, Fidelity, JP Morgan Chase, Tata Consultancy, they're all there. I don't know if I'm answering your question correctly, Alberto, or you were asking something different.
Yeah. I think that's part of it. I'm saying on resume now, while maybe looking up for opportunities, how those are really represented,
They are represented exactly like, how I wouldn't say like when I was showing the very first slide with the arrow, the last block had, here is how many coaches, here is how many teams. So for each organization, I try to show them I worked from, let's say, 18 to 19 at Bank of America. I worked with 10 coaches and 2 Scrum Masters and did this. If 2014 to 17, I was a Scrum Master, so I did put that as a Scrum Master in Tata Consultancy. But then I list like who was my client, who I was a Scrum Master for, because Tata Consultancy is more like a consulting organization, just like Accenture, IBM. So then you want to highlight like who was your client basically, and what was you doing as a Scrum Master there basically. A little bit about the project details. But when a Scrum Master role, I think you have to list more about the team's responsibilities and a little bit about the project. But when you're talking about coaching and transformation, you have to more talk about, like, how I was trying to show, like, you have to do the HR title alignments, you have to do trainings, you have to do workshop, you have to do frameworks and coaching agreements and things of those nature.
Okay, so thank you so much. We are 2 minutes over time. Thank you, Coach. Let
Thank
me
you.
just quickly round us up and then we'll just close for the day. Quickly share my screen. So we have the following. So these are all our social media platforms. So we are on Instagram, we are on LinkedIn, we're on Facebook, we're on Twitter, and we are also on YouTube. Like, this is actually being streamed live on YouTube. So we have some people joining from YouTube actually. And then this is our website, www.agiledisciplesusa. And just for a quick one, the next event we're going to be having will be in August, and that will still be facilitated by me and Dr. Francisca and also Coach Godwin. And the team for that will be on advanced facilitation, and we hope that you'll be able to join us. Every one of you here today will be able to join us in August. So in July, we are taking a break because of the convention and all the summer activities. Okay, so thank you all so much, and it's so good to have every one of you here with us today. Thank you, and see you all in August. So Coach Saif has dropped his LinkedIn profile in the chat. Please, every one of you here, click on it, join him, connect with him, and also ask him questions. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to him on LinkedIn. Thank you so much for
Yes,
joining us.
anytime, guys. No problem. I've sent my LinkedIn profile, and if you ask for email, I have sent that. And you can always send messages on LinkedIn. No problem at all. Thank you. Keep in touch.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you, everyone.
Bye. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Mhm.